age discrimination or ageism is pretty common in our time, as it has been for a while in our culture. So, the title of my work is Creative Connection for Older People, and it's my intention to deal with the loneliness that happens, with the lack of productivity that often comes as people age because of mental or physical limitations. So that lack of productivity and connection can really be accompanied by depression and loneliness. So an art intervention can help to relieve some of that, and that is my project that I'm working on. I've curated some research and resources for this project from multiple places. So there are just a vortex of information about aging adults and resources to help them stay active mentally, physically, socially, emotionally, all of those things as they age. So there's a plethora of those that I'm investigating. I'm also a collaborator with my colleague Hip Wynn. He is the director of what he's named Circle Painting and Draw All You Can. And those resources are really focused on making connections and building community within groups using art. So he has some fantastic resources and ideas for helping older adults to have these extra structures and abilities or things in place to help them with the creative outlets, which we have found is extremely helpful and necessary in keeping them engaged and healthy. So that's a good resource. Online, there are several recommended videographers and caretakers who are recording their journeys with their older parents and showing what works best. There are licensed therapists who are sharing best practices. So all of those resources are there, as well as interviews that I've done with colleagues and friends who have aging parents and the things that they have found that are really helpful and necessary in continuing to help their parents as they age gracefully and avoid feeling those ageism kinds of things where they are lonely, they're put away, they're invisible, all of those things that we want to combat so that older adults feel still part of society, valued for their years, and important to us instead of discards. So my audience for this project plan would be older adults, people who are aging and finding themselves victims of some of the ageism effects of being shut in or discounted or feeling in their own selves just the lack of productivity and value that we have here in America when you're a working person, that's where your value comes from. So older adults, caregivers, so that they can facilitate some art making activities to really help the ones in their care, and then activity coordinators at facilities that either serve older adults or even elder care facilities. So that is the audience for this project. And the why is to combat the effects of ageism by using art interventions and the extreme help that can be to tap into different regions of the brain and areas that are still intact and can be really exercised and bulked up. And then the what and how. So differentiation of what people have already been involved in. This is a picture of my mom, and she's an avid quilter. She was recently diagnosed with vascular dementia. And so the decision making and all of the things that are involved in creating a quilt are becoming almost impossible for her. So differentiating, meaning she still enjoys sewing, she can still do that, but taking some of the hardest parts out by having somebody work with her to overcome some of those obstacles. So differentiating also the benefits of group activity. So even if it's not like your preferred area of creativity, having areas that you can do as a group. So that just brings that joy out, that social connection, things that are sometimes missing as people age and don't have the same kind of social connections that they once had. And then the goal ultimately is really to make sure that dignity is intact. So even though some of the projects may be simple, you could use them for children or older adults, but you want to really approach it in a way that gives dignity, care, that really highlights creative expression and the process more than the product, and just keeps people engaged mentally, socially, emotionally, all of those benefits.